Vila Loukas. Welcome to another episode of the Cosmic Conduit podcast. We are so excited to be here and to bring you this amazing combination of Aquarius and Leo and what this relationship is all about. So in our last episode, we dove into Aquarius, which Vanessa is kind of your superpowers is in the world of Aquarius. Yes.
I love being an Aquarius, yes. And actually, it's been a minute since we've done one of these talking about the axis. So this is a superstar dynamic duo of Leo and Aquarius, and we're really excited to be able to work with these two energies.
That is the perfect way to say it. The superstar axis combo of these two signs. Yeah. So when we talk about the axes, we're referring to these counterpart signs. So on the wheel, every sign is across from another one. And what's super cool about that is that there's all of these really cool correspondences and just sort of innate, intelligent structures that exist within this wheel. So those axes form actually three crosses. So that you're going to have your cardinal cross, which is going to be your Aries, Libra, and your Capricorn, Cancer. And then, so that's the cardinal cross. Then we have the fixed cross, which is going to include what we're doing today with Leo and Aquarius. So that's our fixed fire and our fixed air. And that's going to cross quarter with our fixed water and fixed earth, which is Taurus and Scorpio. So we can geek out about this all day long, but the cool thing is that we find this support structure embedded in the wheel that as we start to understand and speak more fluently, this language of the archetypes that's embedded in the zodiac, we can engage this structure more readily. So another way of saying this would be like, understanding the structure of your skeleton. And the more you understand, like, oh, the joints are put together in this way, and like, these bones intersect here. And then if you want to strengthen certain aspects of your skeletal integrity, understanding how things are connected and where they all go is going to allow you to really hone the energies and strengthen in ways that's going to support the whole structure, the structure as a whole. Anything you might comment on or add to that, Vanessa?
Yeah, I love the way you put that. But as we're working with this whole concept of the cosmic conduit, like that structure that you're talking about, it's like we're learning about the structure of the universe and the structure of ourselves in tandem, because we are the universe and we are all of these archetypes. And so, it's like we talk about these axes sometimes in this podcast, we talk about them more as counterparts, and in traditional astrology, sometimes they're referred to as opposites. But it's really been fun to look at how they play together, how they support each other, and just to explain it for those of you who are new. When we're moving right now into the sign of Aquarius, the sun is in Aquarius, and on the full moon, the full moon is going to actually be in that counterpart sign. So we're moving into this full moon this week, and the full moon is going to be in Leo. So we have an opportunity every month to work with both of these energies at play, and we can do that in a more intentional and structured way. And then that actually is working on ourselves. And that's, when we started this whole journey, we wanted to call it repatterning. We call it, this sort of concept of repatterning. So we're working with these structures, and as you understand the structure, then you can actually change what's going on within the structure to create change, to create a better outcome. And so, it's deep work, and it's also, fun, heady stuff, but we want to make it something that's both accessible and practical and embodied.
Yes. And I love that you brought that piece in, because really, we can talk all day up, down, and sideways about these concepts or principles, but really they don't mean anything unless we're putting them into practice, unless we're utilizing them in our lives and making them real for us. And that's where, this podcast series, we partner it with a number of things that we're doing in person. So we have our online series that we're doing, where we bring these energies into a more, ceremonial and magical practices. So we guide you through that process. It's a guided self ceremony that we do every month, in conjunction with the new moons. And then we have in-person work that we do. Both Vanessa and I work with clients individually, as well as leading events and classes and programs to teach you more directly. Actually, it's not even really about teaching so much as it is about infusing new levels of energy frequencies, so that you can work with what we're talking about in these archetypal aspects and bring them forward much more easily and gracefully and readily, because like you said, we are made up of these. This is how we're built. We're built with all of these different archetypal blueprints, and so it's a matter of being able to be more fluent in engaging them in whatever it is we're working with in our day-to-day lives.
Yes, speaking of day-to-day lives, so I'm wondering how the Aquarius energy is showing up for you.
Ooh, yes. Okay, so I have 0 Aquarius in my chart. I love Aquarius. I have a lot of Aquarians in my life, including you, my dear. And so I enjoy being around the Aquarius energy. As far as like what's going on in my world, we talk about Aquarius being willing to like push the edges and sort of not accept the status quo. Aquarius likes to work beyond the status quo, right? Like, okay, here's the box that everybody's in, and Aquarius is like, I'm not going to play there. What's the point? We've already done all that. Like, why would I stay there? That's ridiculous. So that's kind of where I'm at with some aspects of my, my personal world, in that dealing with a couple of things where I have to make some choices about how I want to proceed on a couple of fronts that are kind of mundane, boring stuff, right? Just sort of day-to-day life type stuff. And I've been given recommendations and been given, here's what you need to do, here's the path to follow. And I'm like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling the wisdom embedded in something that is outdated or irrelevant. Like it feels like it doesn't, we've moved beyond that. I've moved beyond that. I'm not interested in just playing to the things that have always been done. I want to be on the cutting edge of how we understand things. And it's an interesting piece of my makeup, because I'm always that way, right? I want to understand what those edges are about. And it just so happens that in this period of Aquarius right now, with all of this Aquarian energy that's going on, I'm super unsettled about it, right? Where I can't relax, because I'm just like, I haven't figured it out yet. I haven't found the, whatever that cutting edge piece is, right? I haven't landed on it. So I'm like kind of obsessively doing all this research and like, okay, looking over here and like, scanning online or, social media, and like, who's got it? Who's got the answers? And like, I'll know it when I see it. I'll know it when I feel it. I'm looking for something in particular to help take me, with that Aquarius energy into some new domain that's going to resonate a lot better for how I want to operate in this way. So yeah, that's kind of my world of Aquarius at the moment. How about you?
I think for me, it's similar. My sun's an Aquarius, my Mars is an Aquarius, and all of this Aquarius energy is happening for me with the Pluto transit in the 11th house, which is also the house of Aquarius. So it's a lot for me. And the way that is showing up is like I'm really being called to lean into my own brilliance, my own unique outside the box thinking. And I'm really feeling like this really strong drive or desire to, find the right spaceship, You know, like we have an amazing spaceship that we've built here, and we're working through the structure of the Cosmic Conduit, and it's amazing work. But I think just like you, I'm feeling that sense of like there's some other, you know, spaceship that's like there's all of these space launches that are happening in the cosmos right now, as far as like bringing us to a new level of consciousness and a new, you know, a new level of innovation and technology in the world right now. Like over the last year specifically, things have accelerated so much in the world of AI, and like we're poised to have these huge quantum leaps in the way our society works. And so for me, I'm really feeling that call to be, you know, steering that in some way. So it really is just like speaking to all of my Aquarian sensibilities, but also I'm feeling that same sense of like, yeah, unsettledness, where I'm like looking for these pieces to come together in a really specific way that I know I'm gonna feel that when I feel it. So
Yeah.
I think we're in a similar place.
Yeah. You know what it brings to mind, and maybe we can weave this back in somewhere along the way, is like faith, you know, like having faith in, you know, in that more cosmic, really cosmic galactic playing field. And that, you know, that by tuning into it, something really brilliant can be brought forth. So let's maybe touch on that a little bit later as we go. In the meantime, let's review our new paradigm anchor for Aquarius. So it is quantum ingenuity. So would you say that for you, as you were just describing, it sounds like there was a lot of the theme of quantum ingenuity and what you were just speaking to?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and also just like working on what it takes to become able to access that quantum space. Like, you know, we've built up our journey and worked on all these different aspects of ourselves to be able to like build up to the level of quantum, which means that you're taking care of your emotional needs and your physical needs, and you know who you are, you know where you're going. And we, you know, if you look back and go through our past podcasts and our past anchors for each archetype, you know, they all build upon each other.
You do.
And you can't actually just jump to quantum unless you've like built a vehicle for it.
Yes. And you know, so speaking of quantum, like we defined it in our last episode, you know, as a way to leap, right? So instead of taking a, you know, linear step by step type of movement forward and upward, we're actually doing, you know, a quantum movement, which is more exponential. It's more, you know, parabola versus, you know, just quadrants going from one step to the next. And actually, the world of archetypal magic is one of the means by which we can make quantum movement. And I think that's part of why, you know, it's so exciting and such a fun thing to get to be diving into right now, and so supportive for this new paradigm energy that we're working with. So, you know, it's been about almost 2 years or so that we've had really more of this new paradigm frequency on the planet. And if we're holding on to the past, or if we're trying to make things work in the old way, we're finding that it just doesn't work. It's irrelevant. It's moot. It's no longer functional. It's no longer effective. But what is significantly more effective is where we can connect into, sort of dial into these archetypal patterns or these archetypal blueprints that exist, you know, out there, in here, all around, right? Embedded in nature, embedded in our physiology, embedded in the stars, embedded everywhere. Okay, so we're back. Had a little bit of technical glitches there. And so we're talking about how this quantum movement of Aquarius is actually embedded in how we can work with archetypal magic. So that's one of the reasons I love it so much, because when we tune in to different blueprints, right, different aspects of these archetypes, whether it's, you know, the zodiac or archetypes at any level, we can just jump to that we can just jump to that piece and be that, act that, live that, embody that, without necessarily having to just, do that sort of very waddle our way along to try to get there. We can just literally tune in and be there, do it, make it happen. So that's such a cool way of once again, Aquarius really being the kind of the poster child for the new paradigm energy, and how we can really start to function differently, and how this archetypal language can really help us do that.
Yes, and the other key word that you said in the whole archetypal magic equation is magic. And magic actually, is working to create change that's coming from a place that's not linear. It's coming from a place that doesn't make sense. It's not logical, but because we have the power of the archetypes, and we have the power of the elements, and we have a framework for magic that we're actually working with, I also believe that magic is one of the ways that we can quantum leap in the future. So magic for me as an Aquarius is like a realm that I like to live in.
Absolutely. And, we're going to dive in now to more of the shadow side, and where we can really engage these counterpart signs. I want to just say one thing you were mentioning before, that sometimes in traditional astrology, you'll hear about them, the different sides of the axis as opposites, and really they're not opposites. They're because if we were working with the opposite of air, we go to more of earth, right? That would be the very opposite type of energy. And if we were going to the opposite of fire, it would be water. But in these axes, we actually have earth and water are axes, and fire and air are axes. And so with this Aquarius Leo axis, we are working with fixed air and fixed fire, which is kind of intriguing. And so as we go into these, the shadow aspects and where they can really support, these signs can really support one another. That's another theme I want to circle back to. So tell us, Vanessa, what's going on here in Aquarius that we need to counteract? What are the shadow aspects? Where can we get in our own way with Aquarius? It's so much about moving out, moving beyond those frontiers, but then what gets in our way?
I think that the biggest challenge for Aquarius and the biggest shadow is this, so you're so far out into the universe and so detached that it loses track of reality. It loses track of the now. And so there needs to be this bringing it back to what's relevant, bringing it back to what's actually applicable. And you said in our last episode, you were talking about things being, irrelevant and, not connected. And so we really need a way to bring Aquarius and its brilliance and its outside of the box thinking, but bring it in so that it's harnessed, that it's not just floating in space in this theoretical realm that really doesn't really help anyone.
Right. It's totally the image I had as you were speaking. That is, little Aquarians in their little spaceships, tootling around in space and just enjoying that, right? Loving that, woohoo, I'm in my element, here I go, exploring the frontiers, but kind of, yeah, in sort of a way that's oblivious to what meaning can be brought back to the rest of the world. So we did say before that Aquarius is very altruistic, right? It does have a very, I'm interested in the good of the whole. So that's a strength of Aquarius. And so when we're looking at the shadow side, it's then being really disconnected from that and kind of not having a sense of connection to where the innovation or the ingenuity or the creativity can plug in and do something, make something happen for the greater whole.
Right. And the word I like to use is more humanitarian, altruistic is a good one, but I like humanitarian because, the detachment, it's impersonal. It's not connected. It's not relational. Aquarius isn't naturally relational. It's marching to the beat of its own drum. So, but at the same time that it's thinking of the greater good, thinking of the whole, thinking of humanity and the future and saving the world, it's not like thinking about saving one person, or, like, it's not relational in that way. It's so detached and so big picture that it can like lose track of where we're at. So
Yeah.
what do you think about that? What is the way forward?
Well, so it reminds me of then, like, when we have the archetypes of like the mad scientist, or the inventor, or people that are so, have so much going on with thought in new ways of making things happen, and being creative and technical, like very, very into the technicality of everything. That it's almost like, I was speaking to that fixed side of Aquarius can come in, where it's like so principled, and like, we have to do it like this, and it must be like this, and we have to do. And it can sort of box itself in this very detached, far out there kind of way, right? So I see it, yeah, the little spaceship that's out there, or the mad scientist, or the innovator that's out in the laboratory, and just doesn't have any idea of the passing of time, or the
Mm-hmm.
need for even emotional connection. So that means all of that innovation, all that ingenuity of Aquarius has no application. There's nowhere for it to go. There's nothing for it to do when that sort of fixated, over principled, or almost even like OCD, right? Like Aquarius can get just very, almost like where you would think of like a robot or an android, right? Where it's like, must do that thing and have blah 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 blah. It's like overly programmed, overly structured in that fixated way. And so what we can do by bringing in the Leo energy is completely counteract that. We can bring that fire of Leo in to help, where this detached kind of mechanical, that's the word, mechanical way of Aquarius that can be at play.
So our anchor for Leo is courageous brilliance. And so that really, I love how these two play together, because you can take that ingenuity of Aquarius and the ability to look at the big picture and see a way forward that nobody else can see. And then you take that and you put it on the stage of Leo, and you use it for the greater good, and put it through a loudspeaker that
Mm-hmm.
says, this is the way forward. And let's show up in that brilliance. Let's show up in the courage to lead the way. Because I think the other thing that that happens, because Aquarius is such a forward thinker, like, it's future focused. It's thinking about what's going to be next, what's in the stars, like what's beyond time, right? You need to find a way to pull it back and apply it. But the Aquarian can often be misunderstood. Like, what is, like, this person's a mad scientist. They're mad. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's
Right.
beyond.
Right.
So, in order for it to land, it needs to have the right message for the right audience, and the courage to actually go against the grain.
Well, and what I love about this is, usually, we think of fire energy as being really out there, right? We think of that expansive fire kind of being, the highest frequency type energy. But here, it's actually the air, it's the Aquarian energy that's way out there. And then actually using the Leo fire to bring it more down to earth, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
cool. And, so what Leo really brings in, that Leo is very comfortable on stage and on the spotlight, and in the spotlight, and in touch with what the people are about, right? So Leo is great with having a fan base, like, oh, what do my people need, and come to me, I will give of my brilliance to the people. So where Aquarius is kind of lacking that connection to what's going on, kind of in the lower lower realms on the earth plane, Leo is much better at tuning into that, and kind of know your audience, being willing to be the loudspeaker, and can be the vessel and the instrument of that ingenuity coming through Aquarius. So and Leos are going to be much more magnetic in their personality, charming, fun to be around, playful. And these are all really great qualities when added into that ingenuity of Aquarius, to bring about these innovations, these changes, these forward thinking ways, these, groundbreaking principles that in of themselves may be hard to fathom, like you said, hard to understand. But then with Leo, that Leo energy, being so big, so bright, so courageous, and so brilliant in that place of communication and expression and connection, but still in that very big way, right? So not in the relational way that we see it with, with Libra being more one-on-one relationships, or but this is still big picture. Both Aquarius and Leo have that very expansive side of it, but Leo's really brings that fire and passion and connectivity to the ingenuity.
Yes, in one of our earlier conversations that we had around this, you're kind of relating to this coldness about Aquarius. Like there's a certain feeling of coldness, and it's so cool how these archetypes play together, because you bring in Leo, right? And something I've been thinking a lot about lately for some reason, I was watching something and they were talking about what is charisma. Like how do you cultivate charisma in your life? And first it was defined that charisma is the perfect balance of confidence and warmth. So I really love that, because you can see where like there's too much confidence without warmth. It's cold, it's like egotistical. But there's warmth. You know somebody who's really warm, but like they're not confident in themselves. You can tell, so they're not fully in their power. But when you bring those two together, the confidence and the warmth, you have charisma. So it's bringing that confidence of Aquarius standing in its revolutionary, visionary power, and then bringing in this like courageous confidence, warmth to really sell those ideas, rather than them being so far removed that nobody gets what you're talking about.
Yes. So what I want to circle back around to that I spoke about at the beginning is faith, because I feel like, with both Leo and Aquarius being, like I said, big, expansive, looking at the bigger picture, right? They're, we don't get micromanaged in either of these signs per se. And so there's something to deliver. Aquarius has something to deliver. Leo has something to deliver. This axis is all about bringing something through. How do we implement these energies to really have faith in whatever that is? Because, with Aquarius being so far out there, sometimes it's hard to grasp, right? It's hard to be like, this is my great work. This is my piece. This is what I have to do. And, with Leo, I think same thing, like, here's my message, here's my, what I need to say, but not always understanding where that impact, how that impact is exactly going to land, or how it can gain traction. Do you know what I'm saying here?
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking back to also, like when we work with these archetypes, like there's the flip side too. So I'm thinking also back to when we did our Leo and Aquarius episode, that, when Leo gets too much and it's like, I'm just here to show off.
Right.
Like there's no impact, there's no benefit. It's just a more personal expression based on adulation. I want the adulation, or I want the attention. So, there's this balance there, and that's really the beauty of all of these axes, is that you're finding that balance point of, and how they all work together. Like we have to understand who we are, what our needs are, like the way, if you go through this whole, if you build, because none of these are in isolation.
Right.
And we have to isolate them so that we can understand them. But, in reality, this is how we become multidimensional, like through these 12 archetypes.
Yeah. And exactly at the same time you were saying that, I was like, there it is. because I was thinking back to our, our Capricorn, we just came out of there, and, and worked with the energy of Saturn as it assists Capricorn in that, legacy building, right? And we talked about, and we worked at, in our ceremony with that building up, right? You don't get to the ambition and the success, and the entrepreneurship and all of that is about, that Capricorn embodies. You don't get to that from nothing, right? You get to it through a consistent building over time. And so that, that this faith element is sort of like, from the top of that mountain that Capricorn has built, right? That's where, Leo gets to stand in the spotlight, bringing in that, higher frequency energy coming in, through Aquarius. And that faith element, I'm reminded of, the planet of Leo is the sun. And, I think there isn't any better aspect to help us remember and understand the experience of faith, right? That as the sun goes down each day, having faith that it's going to come back around, right? That
100%.
That as we go into the dark of winter, that it's going to come back. And these are sun signs. We're in a zodiacal wheel, and we're working with the cycle of the sun. And so I think it's really about resting into that inherent intelligence that exists, and tapping into that, and knowing, if I'm, trusting that Aquarian energy as the water of the gods, right? We talked about that in our last episode, that it's, the rain from heavens is that enlightenment coming down from the higher mind of God, of Uranos, right? Like, and as we trust that that's coming in, that we're able to receive it, and then willing to expose, to bring it forward as this courageous brilliance in Leo, and allowing that light of the sun to shine, through our own heart centers, coming through our own voices, and bringing this ingenuity into reality.
Yes. And I there's one more piece that I wanted to bring in here, because in this Aquarian capacity to see this bigger picture beyond what anyone else can see, beyond the physical realm, like into the quantum multidimensional realm, like without having it applied for impact for the benefit of all, it's just wasted. And we can bring that, and we bring that back, that humanitarian, and then we put it on a stage, like then we can have real charity, real benefit to society, right? And so Aquarius really has the capacity to be a way shower, a guide, a bringer of change. And that's what that water is too. It's like this spiritual nourishment that's planting new seeds in new soil.
Yeah. Yes. I love it. And it's so fun that, this isn't, I think both Leo and Aquarius have this sense of like being someone special, right? Like, Leo as the star of the show, and, Aquarius as the one who's bringing this advanced understanding of things. But again, all of us have these energies within us. So where it may not be your primary frequency that, is your just, your default expression, it does reside within you. And so then here, as we're in the season of Aquarius at this time of year, we're coming into Imbolc, which is that the halfway point between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. This is when that awakening, you were talking about the seeds, at the time of Imbolc, February 2nd, is where we celebrate the fire held within the seeds, and then bringing those rains to then nourish the seeds into fruition. And so it's a very exciting time to play with something that maybe isn't necessarily, like I said, a strong suit or an automatic default for you, if you don't have these energies
right,
most in your chart, or in your expression. So, but all of us have the capacity. And so really tapping in, and especially because of all of these energies of Aquarius right now, Pluto in Aquarius, the sun in Aquarius, we have all these conjunctions. So there's all of this new way of thinking. So I would just encourage all of you listening, all of you watching, what is the ingenuity that lives within you? What is this creativity, a way of, trailblazing, whether it's even just a way of thinking or speaking or, looking at a situation or problem solving, and then having that courage, really taking advantage of that Leo energy as the full moon comes through, and having the courage to shine that brilliance, and allow this, new way of thinking that only you can bring through, because that's the cool thing about, every single one of us has a very unique makeup. And so, what I have to bring through versus Vanessa, what you have to bring through versus what, anyone and everyone watching has to bring through, none of us are going to do the same thing. We can't. It's not possible. It's unique to every single individual. And so, really, tuning into that and celebrating that at this time of Aquarius is going to be a great way to work with the new paradigm energies, and then specifically, this kind of revolution that's on its way, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all being invited to, look outside the box, to lean into the unknown, to lean into, vast shifts and changes that are happening on our planet and in the universe and in our consciousness. So, if you want to get your hands into and get a taste and take a bite of that energy with us, we would love to have you join us in our ceremony series, where we actually work with this energy, we play with it, we like make it tangible in your life so that you can apply it, because there's no point in talking about all these things if you're not going to actually apply it in some way in your life and take it on. So yeah, we're being all invited, even for us, like who've done lots of work, there's always more, there's always an edge, there's always growth. So, it's been amazing to work with these energies in this way.
Yes. So, out of all of them, I mean, not that any particular archetype is better than any other, but I would say because of how much Aquarius is in the air, I highly recommend joining us for our live ceremony with the new moon, because it's going to give you a chance to engage with what this energy is about for you. So not generalized. We'll, in these conversations in the podcast series, we talk about it in general, but when we go into the ceremonial work, it's more personalized for you, so that it becomes something that you're familiar with, that you feel empowered with and through and by, that you can really put into action for yourself in your life. So we would love to have you join us. So follow the links here. You can find the information about the ceremonies there through our links page, and sign up and just come online with us. It'd be amazing to have you as part of our Cosmic Conduit community.
All right, everyone. Hope to see you soon, and we'll see you on the next episode.